Hello to everyone. We are going to get started. Thank you for joining us for our budget rollout. As many of you know, we have a requirement to produce this budget November 1st, which we do every year, a balanced budget, strong reserves, fiscal responsibility. I'm joined by Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera and Budget Director Mark Ferrandino. This is the first budget that he has completed as the Budget Director. I want to thank him for his great work as well as the entire team at OSPB. Some of them are in the room with us today. This budget represents a lot of thoughtful work to really make sure that we can invest in more housing now and fully funding education and making Colorado safer while maintaining the strong fiscal responsibility to prepare Colorado for whatever lies ahead in the global economy. Any budget is a reflection of values, and this budget is a reflection of our values for Coloradans. I've done my best as governor to listen very intently, formally, of course, through our large town hall events and across the state, from Grand Junction to Pueblo to Fort Collins, informally through the conversations that I've had with thousands of Coloradans over the last year to hear about people's priorities. And no surprise, this budget reflects the priorities of what Coloradans need. First and foremost, Coloradans are concerned about housing costs. The increased mortgage rates, even just over the last year, now around 8%, have effectively driven the cost of housing up significantly. And we need to act boldly through the budget piece to make sure that we can build more housing that people can afford close to where jobs are. We want to make Colorado one of the 10 safest states. We had a strong public safety package last year. We want to build in that, invest in evidence-driven strategies that will make Colorado a safer place to live. We, through this budget, will fully fund education, eliminate the budget stabilization factor. And what's been very important for us in that is also making sure that that's sustainable over time, which I'm confident this budget achieves. And finally, fiscal responsibility. We want to make sure we have strong reserves for whatever happens ahead. No matter the situation, Colorado always puts forwards and passes a balanced budget. I'm confident this year will be no different. This budget represents in many ways a return to a typical Colorado budget year. It's very tight. There's not a lot of extra money floating around this budget. We have to prioritize and make the hard choices informed by our values about where we want to make a difference for the great state of Colorado. And that's why we're focused on the areas that I indicated. We'll begin with housing. After all the influx of funds from the pandemic, again, we're repurposing ARPA funds where we can, but this is a very tight budget year. Next slide. So we are focused on these items: more housing now, full funding of our schools, making Colorado one of the 10 safest states. In addition to that, continue saving people money on healthcare. We are excited about building an economy for all, and a lot of that is around innovative workforce training for people, and of course, smart investments and record reserves. Next. So we'll begin with housing. About $136.7 million total for housing, seeking to leverage existing dollars, tax credits. Really, the focus is increasing the housing supply because the fundamental challenge that we face is Colorado is a great place to live, but the secret is out, and the supply of housing is simply not kept up with the demand for housing in our state, and that's driven the cost of living through the roof, and that is made worse by the national environment around mortgage rates. So the target for the $65 million around transit-oriented development and continuing the work around better transit, more convenience for residents, saving people money. If you could go back a slide, please. We also have the $18 million for accessory dwelling units for long-term rental. The reason there's a budget item is, again, we want to be able to help with the financing of units. People often can't take money out of their equity if they have it at 8% and afford the monthly payment. So we want to cover fees that cities might charge, keep them whole, and help with financing. New space to create tax credits, which can be really effective around revitalization, conversion of it could be an old mill or grain shed into exciting artistic housing, or ways that we can incorporate and revitalize communities. Next slide. $10 million for the thoughtful, meaningful planning process to foster the real collaboration we need to meet our goals. Short-term rental tax fairness. This is around units that compete with commercial lodging and bed and breakfast. but currently are subsidized by taxpayers. We're just simply saying remove that subsidy. At the same time, of course, if you own a home that you live in and you leave town for a few weeks and you want to put it in Airbnb, of course, you should not have any tax penalty for that. That should be the residential rate. But there's many that function as businesses and are more appropriate looked at from a tax perspective as businesses. And then we want to continue the one-time rental assistance from the pandemic. We want to continue that by moving it over to be funded out of 123 funds. Next slide. Really, the highlight of this budget in many ways is full funding of our public schools. And we're excited to invest in reducing class size and paying teachers better. This has been a goal for 14 years to achieve an end to this sort of fictitious factor that was created to underfund our schools. We eliminated this year. That means about $15,000 more in funding for a class of 22 kids, about $705 more per student. Really excited about what this means, and what it means in different districts is very different. In many, it means reducing class size, paying teachers better, bringing back enrichment programs like the arts. All of the things that our school districts do will be helped by making sure that we finally achieve full funding for public education in our state and lay out a path to maintain that for the years to come. That obviously takes up most of the investment, as it should. Public schools are locally run, but we have a few other areas we wanted to focus on in education. One is we pair the full funding of our schools with also ending another inequity, which is charter school mill levy equalization. The charter schools through the Charter Institute receive less capital funding than other schools. This fully achieves that. We've been making progress for the last few years towards that. We also, as you know, last year successfully passed and are now implementing after-school math programming for kids to improve math achievement. We want to also implement after-school science tutoring to improve science achievement and also incentivize work-based learning. There'll be more about apprenticeships on the sort of adult side, but this would be mostly for high school juniors and seniors. Really excited about embracing the innovation of work-based learning and earn while you learn models. We take very seriously the goal of making Colorado one of the 10 safest states. And this year, that means additional funding to reduce auto theft, including new technology and DNA analysis, protecting communities against targeted violence. This is grants that can help protect synagogues and mosques in the face of increased threats due to global events. Supporting community-led crime prevention through grants locally determined, leveraging new technology to prevent crime. Of course, victim recovery funds, and preventing gun violence by being able to prosecute gun running and illegal gun operations more effectively. We also are making a substantial investment in reducing the competency restoration wait list, both through the consent decree, but also beyond that, to help make sure that people can face their day in court. We are focused on strengthening Colorado's higher education and workforce. We're proposing an increase of only 2% in in-state tuition at our colleges. That's well below the rate of inflation. We want to fight hard to keep it there. Additional scholarships, 7.8% of 7.8 million for more for cozy scholarships. And then on the innovative front, working to get more businesses involved with workforce development programs by establishing some tax credits around successful apprenticeship programs where people can learn while they earn while they learn, focus ultimately on hopefully getting job offers as those apprentices are completed. We have a lot of the basic system in place today. We are a leader in apprenticeships. We really want to scale that up, and this will really help achieve that for Colorado, further distinguishing Colorado as the best place to do business. Next slide. On regard to the healthcare agenda, thanks to the leadership of Lieutenant Governor Diane Primavera, who's here with us, we're making a series of important investments supporting the healthcare workforce, including improving the pay for direct care workers. There's a lot of need around high acuity youth. We know that many are underserved by having to stay in hospital beds that are higher cost and lower effectiveness. We're going to increase We're going to keep the beds surged from the last few years and add over 30 new high acuity youth beds across the state. Investing in our public health infrastructure, providing autism spectrum disorder coverage for CHIP, supporting behavioral health and social information exchange, and then very excited about the evidence-based home visitation pilot for new parents across our state. That'll enable 12,000 visits for new parents with strong outcomes for both parents and child. We continue the work around moving to 100% renewable energy by 2040. The big things we got done are just now going into place. They're from last session and the session before, but there's a few pieces that we're seeking through this budget. One is the funding to fully replace all of the state's gas and diesel powered garden equipment, from 4x4 lawn mowing, hand push lawn mowing, leaf blowers. This will save the state money in the long run. These have lower operating costs, and we look forward to partnering with the legislature to get that done for cleaner air and quieter neighborhoods. Tax credits for adopting renewable energy in the agricultural sector, working closely with our Colorado's farmers and ranchers to help them make the transition. And of course, funding to ensure that consumers are not ripped off at commercial EV charging stations. We're excited to propose continuing zero fare for better air across RTD and other transit agencies for free summer travel. We are excited to continue that based on the success of the last 2 years. Funding for improving air quality, sustainable agriculture. We work closely with the environmental justice community around requests for enforcement and monitoring and compliance on pollution standards. And continuing the investment in water quality, it's $93 million in this budget to build out the infrastructure we need for Colorado's water future, pursuant to the Colorado Water Plan. And $2.2 million to protect biodiversity in our state, particularly important in the face of a changing climate. We're working to ensure that no Coloradans lose benefits from the summer EBT program. This is where free and reduced lunch families would get a debit card with $120 from the federal government. We have to invest $3.5 million for Colorado to meet the new eligibility requirements for that ahead of next summer. We're looking forward to partnering with the Joint Budget Committee and the legislature to get this done so that the most needy Colorado families will get the support they need next summer for their kids. In making childcare more affordable, we have the $21 million for the Colorado Child Care Assistance Program and $10 million for child care expense credits to help save families on money, bolster the workforce, improve the quality and accessibility of childcare. And we're investing in improving universal preschool IT to provide an even better experience for consumers next year, while continuing to save families over $6,000 on preschool. Finally, this is a fundamentally responsible budget to prepare Colorado for the long term. It's important we always think about the uncertainty and potential for rainy days ahead. Colorado has faced rainy days and difficult times in the global economy in the past, and inevitably we will in the future, whether it's next year, in 5 years, or 10 years. We need to be ready for whatever the future throws at us, and that's why we maintain a historic general fund reserve of 15%. We balance one-time and ongoing investments as we address federal funds roll-off. We've really scoured the budget, Mark and his team, to make sure that we don't have to return any ARPA funds to the federal government. They can be repurposed for other purposes, and many of them are in this budget, and he'll continue that work for the January update as well. Before we take questions, I want to acknowledge a loss from our Colorado Press Corps family members has experienced. Our hearts are heavy. We're thinking of Charles Ashby, who just lost his wife during this difficult time. Our heart goes out, and we express our deep condolences to Charles and their family for their recent loss. I know that many of you here in the room are friends with him as well, and our hearts are with him in this difficult time.